went on our pilgrimage this week on Chol Moed, my daughter spotted Mr. Moshe Feiglin, which is funny because she knows him because I used to listen to him. Okay. And there was a time where many of us were excited about his politics. Okay. He's maybe you had time to even join the Likud. And so he's said a few things that at least have appeal to, let's say, people like myself, older men like Rabbi Bar-Hayim, Rabbi Rabinovich used to live here. They were big supporters because he was different from most politicians in that he actually had, at the time, and he still does, and this is why he's basically not a Knesset member, is because he actually had principles, and he kept standing up for his principles instead of advancing himself by playing these political games. But his politics were appealing because they were basically anti-politics, and he even said, why don't we try doing what the Torah says in a lot of places? And for better or worse, that affected him. And he used to try to say that he quoted Einstein a lot. The definition of insanity is keep trying to do something over and over again. The second time, maybe you get different results. Hoping for different results. That's insanity. You're not going to get that. Yeah. So why? Because he was talking about how we keep, as a nation, we keep doing the same thing, Meshuva Yisrael, and we're not learning from our mistakes and trying something different, like the types of things that he's been proposing. And the problem is that he hasn't taken his own lesson. That is, he keeps trying the same thing also, trying to get in the Likud or whatever to somehow get into there. But it's not going to work. It hasn't worked for 30 years. So maybe you should just give up on that. But he hasn't given up on that. So he himself could learn that. I still think he has a lot to give, but no one's ready for what he has to say. His appeal is that you have to think through what he's saying. It doesn't have appeal for the masses. It's not something that can be just crunched into sound bites. It's not populist, and it actually takes some sacrifice. I'll tell you something about that. When I learned about how to be a libertarian, or at least think like a libertarian, I was a member of the teachers union here in Israel. Oh yeah, that's bad. A union. Why? Because unions blackmail the public sector, and that's. And I realized, this isn't something I want to be part of. I'm realizing that they're doing bad things. You see what unions do, even though it's certainly workers have the right to form unions, but when unions get involved with electoral politics, it ends up harming the whole system, right? So that's something I learned. Okay, so I learned to get out of that. I'm glad it's been. When did I resign my membership? Almost 10 years ago. Okay. So thank God, got out of that. That's something you could learn. So you have to learn. You have to learn from these things. And he also made another good point the other day. He asked, "Have you ever heard of a Haredi Supreme Court judge?" Think about this. The Supreme Court is supposed to represent people. Has there any Haredi made it to the Supreme Court? Religious Jews, Jews have made it to America's highest court. Jews who have been informed, at least, by traditional Jewish values, even though I don't think Ilana Kagan does a good job as a Supreme Court justice because she seems to be more politically motivated instead of just objectively deciding LP the Constitution. But, she grew up in Rabbi Riskin's shul.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a Supreme Court justice. She's Jewish. And like I said, she grew up at the Lincoln Square Synagogue, I believe. I could double check this. So you have people who are ostensibly Jewish from our background, or close enough, who have made it to the Supreme Court, Jews. But here in Israel, everybody's Jewish. We haven't had any real good, let's say, Orthodox people make it to the Supreme Court. And the state of Israel's been here more, 75 years now? Almost 75 years. And they haven't had that. So he's wondering, maybe the Supreme Court should be as liberal with a lowercase L as it's claimed to be all these years. And then you could ask the flip side, wait a minute, but have you ever seen a secular person as a rabbinic judge in the Rabbanut court? So they could say, the seculars have the Supreme Court in the legal system, and the religious have the Rabbanut in the rabbinic system, which sort of has a check on everybody's life, by the way. There's a lot of things here in Israel you can't do without the Rabbanut, correct? Yeah, can't get married and things like that. So in Israel, just some point to think about. But like I said, I met Feiglin on Chol Moed. I gave him a quick hello, thank you. I've met him before. Probably will meet him again. I think he's done some good things. but I wouldn't say necessarily that we're going to have a shiur and say the Torah says do like Feiglin says. At least he's trying to fit what he proposes in the Torah framework. But even that, I don't think is perfect. I don't think that the Torah would want marijuana to be legalized necessarily. There has to be limits on that because Chazal didn't realize that people what kind of destruction would have for society if people did that. So that's just one little idea.